Good afternoon and welcome to the FX Daily Wrap Up here, sponsored by here on ForexAnalytix. And let's go move this out of the way. Okay, I'm just checking one thing real quick. So as I mentioned, welcome to the daily wrap up here on ForexAnalytix. And it takes place Monday through Thursday at approximately this time, which is 2 p.m. Eastern. It can take place a little bit earlier. It can also take place a little bit later, depending on circumstances. It's just a quick wrap up to see where we stand. Obviously, the big mover of the day was the ECB, which did not hint at a rate cut, or as they said, refrained, and had the potential. We could have yanked even a little bit lower. We actually even had support potentially down to 1188 had they had done that. They didn't, so we took that dip and we quickly ran right back up and we jumped back and forth. We actually were able to get above 113. We'll go in and take a look here with the dollar. And as I said, a lot of people are still talking about the issues and problems with the Eurozone. Well, as I mentioned, that's something we already all know. So as I said before a few times, tell me something I don't already know. So, the issue is really with the dollar and the dollar being repriced for, the outlook on the Fed, which, has been a divergent monetary policy, in the sense from comparing it to other central banks. And now they're starting to look like they have cuts on the horizon. I think Blake mentioned that on Face just right now. Now the other central banks, which have been cutting and cutting, are kind of like just kind of sitting there. As I said, the ECB refrained, but who's the one now talking about cuts? The Fed. So you got to reprice here, folks. That's something we've been talking about for over a couple of weeks with that very, very poor manufacturing data that came out 2 Thursdays ago, the worst in nearly a decade, and why we were looking for a pullback and started out the week looking for potentially move down here to the 38%. We haven't done it. We had our bias chart support from yesterday at 79. That was off by just, I think, it was 4 pips. Today we even had a potentially could move a little bit lower, but we haven't made that break. But the reason is, I think, is that we do have NFP now. One of the reasons why the euro took its move yesterday and really started to take off was because of the poor ADP data, which came in at 27,000. Now, I really don't expect the NFP to be that weak. So my thoughts today was, and I thought we were now starting to, FX is starting to heat up. And I think we're now starting to get some nice two-way flow. And when we talked to the European crossover this morning, which takes place at 4 a.m. Eastern, is available for subscribers here on ForexAnalytix. You can try ForexAnalytix, for $1 and just get a look to see what kind of a platform we have, as well as the chat room that we have in here, as well as real-time news here, even the news that actually breaks. You have a news feed that breaks out, so you get the economic news right when it's coming out. Really a complete platform for viewing, as well as analysis covering not only basic technical, but Elliott wave and several, as well as harmonics, but I was going to say several other disciplines, as well as fundamental analysis too. So, but that being said, we think we're starting to get some nice two-way action. The thought was, I thought we were going to pull down here potentially. Here's our 1188. I thought they'd take out this 112. They just about did it. Doggone it! I had I was working an order at the time at I think it was 1196. I thought they were going to come down there. I didn't want to get too greedy. And they just came down here and then just turned around and started moving up higher. So, but there was some decent little scalping action. I thought we'd get some two-way flow. Told the peeps, told the folks, hey, watch out for this 1258 area. And they did go on deal pause there at the 1258. Now, since we moved higher, we actually made it eventually up to the 12, up in here, this 1270, which is right coming up into the 50%. So we saw some very, very good, nice two-way action here with the euro. I'm a bit surprised that we're still holding up here, because I would think, as I said, despite as weak as ADP is, I don't think that the NFP is necessarily going to reflect 27,000. It could be, you never know. As I said, I'm no dollar bull, but I think it might be, like I said, I think we've already knocked quite a few people out of the box. We spent a lot of time yesterday talking about that, talking about price structure and those that had shorted, and they're really under a lot of pain, may have knocked quite a few of them out yesterday. So there wasn't as much of a push. I thought today, and we talked about this yesterday, we thought, hey, look, once you get past NFP, not NFP, but ECB, we could potentially see 1324. We already made a pretty good run to it already yesterday. So my thought was, hey, look, if we make this run up here and you got the 61%, that's going to be a nice area to fade. Right when we were just about ready to punch, we just made new highs, and then a question came out about, I think it was, they asked Draghi about, I don't know if it was cutting or whatever, and then he was saying, I guess he said no, and then all of a sudden it started, and I thought we were coming up here because I thought this was going to be a very nice fade right in here. But we did go in and dip into right around the 50 area, and then we, you can see right here, made it actually to 45, and then we started to reassert ourselves. This has been a very key level here, 1293. I talked about this. We meant to talk about this on Face. I was on Face yesterday, and at the time I said, this is not a bad area if you want to take a short, going to ECB, because I thought we'd come in weaker for the ECB, which we did, but I thought they might have offered a little bit more stimulus, you want to call that, which might have allowed us to dip. But we did get a pretty good little dip on that. But we came back to retest that same 1293. You can see here it holding on the 2 hour. Now, I was, for day trading purposes, looking at the 30-minute, and that kept holding it right there. You see? And even from right here, we took a dip. We did punch up, but here's the deal, folks. Ahead of NFP, things start to wind down, and you just don't see that much participation. So they were able to skunk it up a little bit here, right here after dipping, and now we're starting to slide back a little bit. But once again, if you look on the 2 hour, you can see that 1293 is still holding. I was telling the guys and gals in the room, still holding like the Rock of Gibraltar. Okay, I would expect this to slide back, but the euro is definitely open to potentially moving higher. I think Blake was saying, he was talking about maybe potentially up into the 114 area, but we shall see. I had a stretch today. If we had clipped up all those stops and got really going overboard, I thought we could have made it even up to here, although I think this would have been a good area. But as the market tried to push back up, I would have really, like I said, that question came at an inopportune time, because I think we could have pushed right in here and taken out the 1324 area here. But that being said, that's the lookout here on the euro. Support now is now going to come in right here at 1231. That'll be support here for tomorrow, unless we get a little bit further fade. That might actually come in and push it down to the 1211, but it's probably going to be around 1211. We'll see how strong NFP comes out. But I think the dollars are selling nonetheless. Looking at the Canadian dollar, we kept our bias chart support here at 33.62. Hang on a moment. And it's still holding that for right now. Although I was telling someone in the room, we still have the, going into tomorrow, we still have the opportunity that this market can get down to about 33.35. We'll see if, like I said, if the NFP, we start to see the dollar continue to fade, which I kind of think that's going to be the case, then we can break and possibly get down to 33.35. Moving on to the peso. Well, they haven't resolved anything yet, so we're still trying to push up in here. We'll take a look here on the daily on the peso, what we're looking at. Got a nice confluence here. And I was thinking yesterday they may have jumped in there, but they faded right before they got there. But you can see this zone between 1988 to 1995. That confluence is with the 61%, which is 92.5 of this entire move of 1875 on up to 2066. But like I said, we made a stab yesterday, actually an Asian session. I thought they might jump in here, and I thought if they stall, it'd be a nice short, but they fell a little bit short. But they're still pushing up a little bit higher, so we shall see. But you've got a nice little zone right in here. Going back to the dollar yen, we talked about that over the last couple of days, and very disappointing considering how the equities had been running. You would have expected more bang for the buck, and hence why my concern was looking at the yen pairs. Cable, we tried to work a little bit higher here. We came into our resistance Our bias chart resistance came in right there. 27.34 is what we had. You can see this, made another run back up in here. That was actually from yesterday, so we actually kept it the same. And if you trade, I haven't done anything with cables lately. I mean, last time I traded, I think it was about a week ago or a week and a half ago. But the whole thing with these politics and all this other stuff, I just kind of wary, and I think there's better opportunities around. But some people love to trade the cable. Let's see. Let's take a look here with the Aussie dollar. Still kind of holding here, but we have our bias chart resistance up here at 70.27. If you're with us over the last few days, we've talked about the importance of this level that goes way, 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 way back, okay? But it's a very key level here, the 70.27, and I think that's where they'll try and blast it to. They may even get to it if we see the dollar succumbing on Friday, to NFP, but we shall see how NFP comes out. We're going to move into the cross rates. Just one moment. And the Kiwi yen continues to do very, very well, holding up very well, coming up into resistance here. Once again, I was going to reiterate on these yen pairs. Look, folks, we're just not seeing a whole lot of action on here. We did get the euro yen to push up higher, but holy smokes! I mean, look where the SPOOs are at 28.36. They're still adding more, and we're barely above 122. But it just, to me, it speaks volumes of not only the strength of the yen, but really, like I said, basically I'm looking at it as a canary in the coal mine. And if the yen is still staying this strong, that means to tell you, don't get fooled by what's going on with the SPOOs. Now they're holding up because they think something should get resolved with Mexico, and it very well may be. It's going to be in the best interest of all parties that it go and get worked out. And I think that they will, despite the administration's bluster. Euro Aussie, we're still holding up very well in this area. So really, my focus, which lately with the majors that have been so quiet, I had seen more pronounced activity in the cross rates because there just wasn't anything in the majors. But we're starting to see that now. And let me go on and get back into that screen. And before I do that, let me go on and jump into where the SPOOs are at. Look at these SPOOs. They are just continuing to just march higher. It's not even marching higher. This is just like going out into the ozone. Hence my thoughts about the dollar yen. That's what I'm saying. The dollar yen should be right now at 927, even probably beyond 927, which is that big pivot. So once again, that's why I was saying is that speaks volumes. Essentially, I'm looking at the yen as a canary in the coal mine because it's saying don't buy into this stuff. Now we're still holding here. We may still get another push if we get things resolved with the whole issue with Mexico. We shall see. But look at the boons. Once again, new highs, new lows in rates. I mean, and so you would think, well, wait a minute, how could the euro be so high? And because obviously it's got a lot of problems. Yeah, like I said before, is tell me something I don't already know. Really, the move in the euro is basically a de facto, basically from what's happening with the dollar. Same thing here with gold. I mean, there were people earlier in the week that were trying to step in front of this thing. And I was saying, be careful. They had already made a move and they were in the teens. I thought, I kept saying gold wants to 1323. And I saw a potentially move we could get up to 1330, but I'm surprised we're still trying to push up and higher. And really the whole thing with the gold, honestly, it's not so much about the dollar. The dollar has problems and sometimes gold would react, sometimes it wouldn't. It's all about the interest rates. I was mentioning one of the guys in the chat room, talking to Stillis, I said, hey, look, it's basically with the interest rates, the trajectory of expected interest rates, I'm talking about here with the Fed, has unleashed the beast. And essentially, that's why you're seeing this move. You don't want to get in the way of this gold at all. I think that we can make it up to 1375. I was saying that actually on Monday. I'm surprised it just hasn't paused. It's just running over anybody that's trying to stand in the way of this thing. And then obviously, I think the dollar being weaker, that just adds basically it's the gravy, because really there's moves when the dollar would weaken and the gold wasn't reacting, but gold will react to those interest rates. Let's go and move back in here to the main screen. So as I was indicating in here with the dollar, and we'll pop into that quickly. It really has the potential to finish the week on its lows, because we've got this 38% sitting right there. And we can go and make that move down here. I don't think it's going to be that difficult. And really, as I said, it's a repricing of the dollar. I don't think the dollar is going to go to heck in a handbasket, but it certainly has to be repriced in light of the Fed now looking to go in and cut rates. And I think that they will. I don't think that's a big surprise to anybody, because I think we're going to see these impacts from, the row with China and then subsequently Mexico, and thoughts about tariffs against European cars, Japan. I even mentioned, I joked on the the European crossover webinar. I think Trump's trying to get tariffs on Afghanistan and anybody else, any other country he can find out. He can find a country, Jamaica probably wants tariff increases on Jamaica to boot. But my point being is that it's really starting to weigh on things. A lot of concerns. Obviously, we import a great deal amount from China. Cost to manufacturing, cost to companies is increasing. So that's just, it's going to work its way down the pipe, and we're already starting to see that, and why we expect further, issues with that. But that's where we stand. As I mentioned, look here at the dollar yen. And I'll finish up lastly with that, because basically we just kind of give an idea of how things kind of have closed so far for the day. Look at the dollar yen. Look at this. I mean, look at the SPOOs. I mean, they have rallied like gangbusters. And look, like I said yesterday, it's the old commercial. I've fallen and I can't get up. Look, we should already be. This is the pivot. We've talked about this before. The importance of this 927. This thing should be beyond 927. We should be talking about probably 977 right here. Okay, we should actually be challenging here. Do we have a temporary bomb? Heck no, we're still over here hugging the basement. So to me, as I said, I think that the yen is a canary in the coal mine, and saying, hey, look, there's far bigger problems ahead. But anyway, that's what we have here with the FX Daily Wrap-Up. We are starting to see the euro just gently come off now. We're moving a little bit lower here, not a whole lot, but as I mentioned, I would think that the dollar we see a little bit further strength as we go into NFP, and we'll see how that plays out. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us here on the Daily Wrap Up. Have a great rest of the day trading, and good luck tomorrow.